and first-team All-American quarterback Steve Taylor.
5 for Steve Taylor. That is a new Nebraska record.
Live from the heart of Lincoln, America, former All-American quarterback Steve Taylor.
Yes, welcome into Weekly Wrap Sessions with All-American quarterback Steve Taylor. I'm Jake Bakoven along with Steve today, but we've got a more important guest in studio. Despite a rainy day, who's able to make it in is Coach Tom Osborne. So I'll throw it to Steve and get this conversation rolling.
You know, I've been thinking about this the last couple of days, and I apologize, Coach, because this was not my idea. This was actually my wife's idea. Yeah, we were just sitting at home on the couch, just watching TV, and I was talking to her about being in your suite a couple of games ago. Mm-hmm. And I said, it's really weird how our relationship has kind of evolved from player to fathers, parents, that kind of just football heads, right? And I said it was kind of cool just sitting there watching the game with Coach, just as two people that love football. So, and then she said, you know what, you ought to have him on your show. So, you can blame her. So my apologies for that. But no, seriously.
I'd say you're pretty smart if you're listening to your wife. That's always a good habit.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, she comes up with some pretty good ideas. The problem with Coach is that I'm the one that has to execute them.
Well, that's usually the way it is.
That's the way it is.
Yeah.
Well, cool. Well, thanks for coming in. We're going to get some business out of the way just so we can have some fun with this. But what's your take in general about the collegiate landscape and the playoffs and the NIL versus when you were coaching in the early 80s and the 90s and the 2000s? So just kind of give us your thoughts on all that and where football has gone and how you would handle all that.
Well, I'd say the landscape is much more difficult right now. If you think about it, you have coaches recruiting high school players. They're recruiting the transfer portal, and then they're recruiting their own players to keep them there. And that's something you didn't used to have to do. Mm-hmm. I mean, you had players usually came, and you could count on them being there 3-4 years. And right now, you can see a tremendous amount of movement in college football. If you happen to have the wrong 4, 5, 6 guys into the transfer portal, you can go from being a pretty good football team to being a very average or below average team. Or if you happen to get the right 7 or 8 transfers in, it can make a world of difference and you can become a really good team. So there's going to be a lot more volatility, I think, in college athletics. And I think the thing that concerns me is competitive balance. I mean, there always was some lack of competitive balance. If Nebraska has a stadium that seats 80,000 and you have 80,000 every week, that's an advantage that some other teams aren't going to have. But the problem right now that I see is that it's kind of a bidding war, and I'm not sure exactly how accurate this is, but Phil Knight runs Nike, and Nike is part of the Oregon landscape, and Oregon is very good right now.
Oh yeah.
Now, maybe they were going to be good anyway, but I suspect there's a lot of NIL money going into that program. And so there'll be some schools that might have 3 or 4 million in NIL, and other schools that maybe have 30, 35, 40 million. So it is possible to go out and maybe you can't absolutely buy a national champion, but you can come pretty close.
But you can come pretty close to it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's interesting that you say that because when I look at these coaches today and the situation that they're in, and one reason why, there's like 2 or 3, but one major reason why I came to University of Nebraska is that I believed in you and I trusted you. and you didn't promise me anything. You say, hey, we're giving up an opportunity to play quarterback. You'll do this, you'll do that. But you did. You said what you did what you said you were going to do, and you had that level of trust. So I can only imagine recruiting a guy like me versus a guy like Broderick Thomas. I can only imagine what that conversation would be like. But I think, and you don't know this, but I think in this era that I still think players would trust you and be a little bit more loyal in that regards, and it wouldn't hopefully come down to the almighty dollar. But obviously you see how that plays a role in that. But we can't change what has happened. Did you ever see this coming when you were coaching? Eventually, that players would be compensated and the whole. I mean, was that always in the back of your mind that you see that coming?
We had a state senator from Omaha who kept talking about paying the players, and so I could see that. And I think what happened, Steve, was that when the TV money really escalated and coaches' salaries kind of went through the roof, people could say, well, these coaches are getting paid a lot more. So why in the world aren't the players participating somewhat too? So, but in looking at the Nebraska program specifically, one of the things that's been encouraging is that we have been relatively successful with the transfer portal. We haven't had a lot of people moving out. And I think that speaks well to the culture and Matt Rule, people liking to play for him. And we've gotten some fairly good people who've transferred in. But it is something that's really disconcerting when you've practiced athletics as long as I have, and all of a sudden see all these changes. And I guess one thing that I have a little bit of optimism about is that the Big Ten and the Southeast Conference have the majority of the major college football programs. I think the Big Ten has 18 and Southeast Conference has 16 schools, and these are all pretty high-level schools. And instead of competing and bashing each other, the Southeast Conference and the Big Ten appear to be cooperating, and I think they're wanting to try to formulate some guidelines that make sense. And so I'm hopeful that can be put into practice, because some sanity has to occur, or it's going to be probably even more chaotic than it is right now.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned the part about the coaching staff, and I think I was kind of spot on with that Coach Rule, and that's one thing I like about Coach Rule. There are several things I like about him, but he has a lot of your qualities in the way that he treats his players and the culture that he has established. You trust him, and he seems to be genuine, which obviously you were. And that reflects in him being able to retain players and not lose a lot of players in the portal. Now, obviously during your tenure here, with all the championships that you have, conference championships and national championships, everyone's always under scrutiny. And you were under scrutiny as well, as far as like your coaching staff. And, should you fire him? Should you keep him? And while I was there through my 4 years, you probably hired maybe 2 or 3 coaches, but coaches left on their own volition. And some coaches got some heat, even yourself, offense, you and McBride got some heat with some stuff. How did you approach that as far as like not firing those coaches, and how did you keep your staff intact, knowing that people wanted them to be gone if they didn't? And obviously we know the pressures are different now. People want immediate, success. So how did you approach your staff, and what did you do to get better?
Well,
versus just firing someone.
I think when you're an employee, how you're treated always makes a difference. And I tried to make sure that I listened to my coaches. It wasn't my way or the highway. And I think that the consistency of our coaching staff and the fact that we didn't have a lot of turnover was a tremendous advantage, because when you lose maybe half of your staff every year, which happens in some places, you're all of a sudden kind of back to the drawing board. And but if we came out in a ball game and we had prepared for a certain kind of defense most of the time, or a certain kind of offense, and sometimes people would come out and play us entirely different because we ran the ball well, we did certain things, and all of a sudden you'd see something entirely different than what you prepared for. But we had a pretty good collective memory. We could say, well, remember UCLA did this to us 5 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And so having that institutional knowledge and being able to count on each other to be able to adjust fairly quickly in the first couple series of a ball game was really important. So continuity was important, and I think probably most coaches stayed because they liked the communication, and I gave them responsibility, and I trusted them to do it, and tried not to be somebody who was always looking over their shoulder and second guessing, or because that can be pretty devastating to a person's self-confidence if that continually happens.
Yeah, I mean, we're talking outside the studio, and you kind of surprised me a little bit, and I love talking about football, and you're talking about the Indiana game, and that you said you didn't see that coming,
Mhm.
and it's weird because I kind of thought that could happen, right?
Mhm.
And I kind of stepped back when I heard you say that you didn't see that coming with the amount of points that they're scored. So I was kind of baffled by that a little bit, just because playing for you, I never played a game. I tell this story all the time. I never played a game or entered a game that we were not prepared for, and we may have been beaten, but we were always prepared. You made great adjustments, and I'm not just saying this because you're here, coach. It's just the truth. You made great adjustments throughout the course of the game, and you knew the opponent that we were playing. I was talking to Bach about this a while back ago when we were playing Miami in the Orange Bowl. You put in this dash left, dash right, and I'm thinking you're trying to take care of my, take advantage of my abilities as a player moving. But now when I look back at it, I think you had some idea that we may have a more difficult time of blocking these guys consistently for 4 quarters. My point is, I was not surprised with the Indiana game, the way that snowballed and could get out of hand. But I did take back when you did say that. So, but you didn't see that coming. Yeah.
No, because I thought our defense would hold us in. I thought maybe Indiana could score 28, maybe in a really good day, 35.
Mm-hmm.
But as you know, we had 5 turnovers in that game.
Yes, we did. Yeah.
And the turnovers always make things look worse than they really are. And so, but I didn't anticipate them scoring 56 points. I knew that they were probably a little better defensively than what people thought. And I knew they had a good team, and I wasn't surprised that they won the game. I was just surprised at the margin of victory because I was pretty sure that our defense would hold us in the game.
Hold them a little tighter?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, if
that's why you play the game, because you never know. You never know.
Yeah.
Looking back at this, you and I have had I think a fairly good relationship, on and off the field. When you look back at your career of what you've done, and you've done amazing things on and off the court. That's one reason why I respect you so much. I'm just curious, when you were 10 or 11 or 12 years old in Hastings, Nebraska, growing up, what were you thinking? What were your aspirations? What did you want to do? What did you want to be?
Well, when you're 10 or 11, you kind of live one day at a time. And my dad was in World War II. He was gone for 5 years. And when he came back, when he joined up, I was 4. When he came back, I was 9. We moved into a house right across the street from Hastings College. And so I was over at Hastings College watching practice every day. And for instance, in basketball season, there'd be 20 minutes from the time the team left the practice floor until they turned off the lights.
Mm-hmm.
And we'd be out there shooting baskets and playing in the gym for that 20 minutes. And then we'd get old helmets and shoulder pads that the equipment guys were throwing away, and we'd wear them, and we'd have pickup games. And so I played football, basketball, track, and
You're an athlete.
baseball. Yeah. So I played them all.
Yeah.
And so I had a great love for athletics, and that was kind of what you did. And but I had no particular aspirations as to where that would all lead. But I really didn't intend to go into coaching. And as I spent a rather short and non-illustrious career in NFL, came back to Nebraska because of an injury, and enrolled in graduate school. And I was going to go into college administration.
Okay.
But athletics had been so much a part of my life, I thought I could maybe ease my way out by being a graduate assistant coach.
Mm-hmm.
So Bob Devaney had arrived just the same time I came back to Nebraska. It was January of 1962. Went in to see him, and he said, I've got all the coaches I need. But he said, I do have a lot of these guys over in Selleck Quadrangle. Marquette had dropped football, and I think we had 8 or 9 guys from Marquette, these Chicago area guys, had come to Nebraska, and they'd thrown the dorm counselor out, and they were running the show. And he said, if you'll move in over there and kind of ride herd on those guys, he said, I'll give you meals on the training table. So that was quite an offer. So I said, well, okay. So I moved in over there and broke up a few fights and settled them down. And after a month or so, he said, yeah, I think maybe we could use you during spring ball.
So you kind of fell into coaching a little bit. Right?
Yeah. But I really, the only reason I was in coaching was because I just thought that as I went through my graduate work, that it would be something that I would enjoy doing, but it wasn't going to be my lifetime work.
Yeah.
And one thing led to another, and finally, 1965, I finished a PhD, and I was on the fence, and I knew I could get a job in college administration for about $10,000 a year.
Oh.
And I went over to see Bob, and I said, Bob, if you'll pay me $10,000, I'd like to be a coach.
Wow.
And so that's kind of the way it worked out. And fortunately, we were able to.
So they threw the football then, right? They were a passing team. Ferragamo, Taggy, or was it?
Well,
I've seen highlights and tapes and everything, but because I was always go ahead.
Well, I would say a game back in those days where you threw the ball 20 times, quite a bit of throwing.
Yeah.
And Taggy was a good thrower. He was a fairly good runner. Van Brownson was a good athlete and could do both. And then Ferragamo was an NFL type quarterback. Yeah. He was a good thrower, not a great runner. He could run some. We had David Humm there too early on, so we usually led the conference in passing the first 4 or 5 years of my time as a head coach. We had this team in Oklahoma we were playing, and of course they ran the wishbone, and they may only throw 8 or 9 times. But I saw how destructive a running quarterback could be, how difficult it was to defense, and so we eventually began to move more and more to a dual threat quarterback. We wanted to have somebody who could throw, but we also wanted somebody who could move.
I'm glad you mentioned that, because I've always had, and I talk about Nebraska all the time, and the reason why I came here and where I wanted to go and where I thought Nebraska needed to make that separation from being a run-oriented team. So the option was a thing of beauty. When I was in high school and watching Turner Gill, Mike Rozier, and Irving Fryer and what you were doing, I I had seen the wishbone and the veer. I ran the veer a little bit, or played against some teams that ran the veer, but I grew up throwing the football. I mean, I actually really had to learn how to run the option. And Hooper put in a couple option plays or whatnot. But the ingenuity and the creativity of what you did, because it was so different when I tried to explain Nebraska offense to people what we did. We had some true triple option plays, but it was more of a power football and option. How did you go from what you're doing under Devaney to doing what you bring in that power football in the option game? How did you come up with that?
Well, I think we did adapt some of the things that Oklahoma was doing in option football to the I formation. And wasn't quite the same, but we included quite a few of those principles. And then we had a basic run I formation game. And as you know, we used a spread offense where we had 4 receivers on the field. And we used a variety of offensive sets. But as time went on, we definitely were looking for quarterbacks that could throw and run. And those are hard to come by. And it's hard to find a guy that is really good in both areas. Fortunately, you were one that was. Turner Gill was that way. And Tommy Frazier was a great quarterback. He was probably the best runner we had on our football team. And he was
quick.
good.
He was quick.
He was quick.
He was.
He was a good enough thrower to do okay. And the thing that running the option did was it would distort the secondary of the opposing team, because you couldn't stop the option if you didn't involve your safeties.
Yes,
the safety had to come up. If you had a fullback, and then you had the quarterback keep, and then you had the pitch, and you couldn't stop all of those without involving the secondary. And as a result, we oftentimes had receivers running wide open. If you went down the line of scrimmage and that safety was coming up, and pretty soon it would really throw their whole coverage out of whack.
It's interesting now because when I watch professional football and I see all the mobile quarterbacks playing. I mean, it's you literally, the day of the guy that can't move is almost obsolete. I mean, there are very few. Right. I mean, you need so many things to happen for them to be successful. And Raiola may be in that category now, but Raiola, he can move. I mean, just if he wants to decide to do that, right? When you talk about things like that, that was one thing I've always loved about Nebraska, because I thought they were the pioneers in doing that. And and they did throw the football. I mean, I watched Turner throw the football 12 times, 15 times, but we could throw the football, and that was enticing for me to come to Nebraska. So with that in mind, and that's one thing I say about Nebraska. You were the pioneer with mobile quarterbacks. And I look back at our quarterback room, it was so diverse. It was so diverse. Guys that can run, guys that can do both, one spectrum on the other. So I think that was a true reflection of what you were doing and where football was going. So I just want to thank you for that, first thing. And, I didn't realize how much stress it was and how demanding it was to be a quarterback at the University of Nebraska, being able to throw the football and run. So,
well, you did a great job of it. And as you know, we most all of our plays were not necessarily predetermined in the huddle. We'd say 41 pitch check. And what that meant, if you checked and you went the opposite way, you went 49 pitch, because 41 was not as attractive because of the defense alignment. And then you could always check out of any play that we called and go to a pass play or a run play. So there was a lot of mental acuity that was important for the quarterback. And we gave the quarterback a lot of flexibility in making sure we got into the best play.
You're exactly right. And that's one thing that I think benefited me to play in the CFL, the Canadian Football League, was my ability to read defensive fronts and whatnot, and get into and out of the right play. And I tell people all the time, I probably audible, almost half the time, throughout my course of my career in Nebraska. So the running game was as sophisticated in running the football at Nebraska than the passing game was as sophisticated as being able to pass the football in the Canadian Football League. So, I mean, you're right. It's I can't speak for the wishbone because I never ran in a wishbone, but it wasn't as complicated. You had a couple of reads and that kind of stuff. But it was cool. And with that being said, when you look at quarterbacks, what do you look for in a quarterback? If you were a coach, first of all, would you coach in today's game? Would you want to coach in today's game and deal with what's going on?
Well, sure. I enjoyed coaching very much, and the coaching part is good. I would say a lot of the things we've already talked about, the NIL, the transfer portal, and some of the things that have occurred have made it probably less attractive. But I would always want to have a quarterback that had mobility, and but it's hard to find a guy, Steve, that's a really good thrower and a good runner.
Yeah.
Both those guys are pretty rare.
Well,
And you're one of them. And
I have a
we're fortunate
confession
have
to
some-
make, though. I do have I've been holding this for years, and you may know this, you may not, but I do have a confession. I don't know why I feel compelled to tell you this, but my sophomore year, when we played Florida State, was my first start as a sophomore. First true start as a true sophomore. I strained my hip flex late in the game, and I was not 100%. I was probably after that game, I was probably about 60 to 70% that I couldn't run like I could before that game. I never said anything to anyone, just because I didn't want to lose my job, right? I wanted to stay the starting quarterback. Didn't want to give
I would have been glad to listen to you.
I know. I mean, we did all right. And I wasn't healthy probably until the latter part of the season, that my hip flex was back to 100%. That's before we went to Oklahoma and then the Sugar Bowl and whatnot. But I had to confess. And another confession is against South Carolina my sophomore year, I had my junior year, I had hurt my left shoulder against UCLA early in the game. And I came down on it and it was bruised. But I managed to play that game. I got an interesting story about that too. I ended up playing that game, but I bruised my AC joint. And you knew that, and you had me wear these larger shoulder pads, which I didn't want to wear, but I had to wear them because you're the coach, right? I like the smaller ones so I can throw. But anyway, so I was getting cortisone shots throughout the week for practice. And we're going to play. We played and we had Arizona State away, but we're playing at home, and it was better. And then we were playing South Carolina, and Broderick and I got into a little tussle in the just being guys messing around, and I popped my shoulder going into that game. It was at the Kellogg Center in the dorm, and I didn't say anything. Yeah, I played, and I actually played pretty good, but I took a beating that game. I was in the hospital, but most of it was because of my shoulder. I just had to confess that. But those are decisions that you make as players that you may not tell your coach or someone because you're competing, right?
No, I didn't know about that.
Yeah, I know you didn't. No. But I got through and we won the game. Cleat bailed me out and we won the game. But those are a couple of things. So
I could understand somebody disagreeing with Broderick, right? I can see that.
Yeah, so you have so many memories. Does any really stand out? I have a couple that stand out, and this is what I tell people, and this is what I want to talk about. This is the type of coach that you were. I remember playing in UCLA game, and I threw 5 touchdown passes, and I was in the Heisman race and all that kind of stuff. And I don't know if you remember this or not, but you tapped me on the shoulder and you said, "Steve, when things are going well, the quarterback gets all the credit, and when things are not going well, they get most of the blame." You said little things like that, not only to me, but I'm pretty sure the other players. Was that the psychology in you, the doctor in you, or just being a coach, or what was it?
Well, sometimes when people say, "Well, psychology," you're distorting the truth a little bit here and there. But no, I probably said it because it's true, and and it's true of coaching too. when things are going well, people think you're a great coach, and then you have a bad game and you're a bad coach. And unfortunately, the player that's probably most similar to the coach is the quarterback, because
True.
he's the focal. He's the guy that handles the ball on every play, and so the quarterback probably gets more blame than he deserves. And because if your offensive line is not performing well, it's hard to play
Yes,
quarterback.
yes.
And so it's all those pieces that have to fit together. But sometimes when you're up in the 50th row in the stands, the quarterback is probably more of a focal point than any other player.
Well, we're gonna let you go here. I got a few more things I want to ask you. And I really appreciate you coming by, and anything you want to say to Husker Nation, just for them to calm down on social media or in regards to the state of Nebraska program. Would you just like to just remind them?
Well, the one thing I guess I would like to say to people who are listening, because most of the people I guess who listen to the station are pretty avid fans, and that is that the Nebraska fans are truly a major part of whatever success we had. Because if you think about it, 7 straight losing seasons, there's hardly any program in the country where you would have a sellout crowd. You'd have 30-40% of your seats empty, and we still have a sold out stadium. And that this is something that's probably the greatest advantage we have. Is the thing about it is that with that interest and that devotion to Nebraska football, also there's another side, and that is that, and I remember thinking this, most places football goes for 3 or 4 months, and then, but here,
Not here.
you're under the microscope 12 months a year, and so. But I do think that the fan base has been remarkable, and the resilience has been remarkable, and it certainly helps recruiting. And I think eventually we'll work our way out of this. And I think Matt is doing a good job, and so hopefully we'll return to some pretty solid results on the field too.
Yeah, you're right. I'm going to put you on a spot here a little bit. I can't let you get away unscathed, and your time is almost up here. So I'm just going to throw some names out at you, and Bach, you can chime in anytime you want, and just kind of tell me the first thing that comes to your mind and about these particular players, and we'll leave it at that. Johnny Rogers.
Well, Johnny was a guy that could probably hurt you more ways than any player that I coached. He was a great return man, punts, kickoffs, but he also ran the ball well from scrimmage, ran counter plays, and then he was a great receiver. And Johnny wanted to play defensive back, and he would have been a great defense. The guy at Colorado right now is a player that's playing both ways.
Yes.
And Johnny wanted to play both ways, but
Really?
he was doing so many things offensively. He only weighed 170 pounds, and we weren't sure that he'd be able to hold up,
Okay.
But he was a very versatile guy and very, very competitive. He never fair caught a punt. And you think about that in today's age.
That's crazy.
You see guys 8 or 10 yards from the guy catching the ball, and they're signaling for a fair catch. Johnny had guys, 2 or 3 people within 1 yard of him, and he never fair caught a punch. And sometimes he came out of that and made 40 and 50-yard returns. So he was pretty remarkable.
Okay, what about the triplets? Mike Rozier, Turner Gill, and Irving Fryer. What comes to mind when you think of them?
Well, they could score in a hurry. And they were it was probably pretty hard at defenses because Turner was a good thrower, a good runner. Mike was a great ball carrier, and of course won the Heisman. And Irving was the number 1 pick in the NFL draft.
Wow, I remember that. Yeah,
he had great speed, and of course he was a good receiver, but a good return man too. So they could put numbers up there in a hurry. We had Mark Chalene at fullback, and he ran a 4.5 40, and he could hurt you.
What kind of impact did Broderick Thomas have on you?
Let's put it this way: Broderick kept me on my toes. You never knew what was going to come out. I remember one time when I was recruiting Broderick, and his dad said, said, "You win games with your mouth." And, and I said, "Oh no!" And some of that, I think, carried over to Broderick. He would come off in a press conference and he'd challenge the team we were going to play, and I'd say, "Oh no, Broderick, we got enough problems without doing that." But he was a great player and a good guy, but he would speak his mind.
Yes.
Let's put it that way.
I learned a few things or two from Broderick. But anyway, Coach, I won't keep you any longer. Thank you so much for coming. I got the most love and respect for you. So, wait, are you going? We're not going to go fishing today, right?
No.
That's one thing I want to do with you. I want to go fishing with you. My brother is an avid fisher. He loves to fish, and he's going to come to Nebraska. So I'm going to call you, and maybe we can go out fishing before
Okay.
Yeah, before whenever.
Yeah, we'll catch a few.
Yeah.
That's right.
All right, Coach.
Well, it's
Thanks
good
so
to talk
much.
to you, Steve. I always enjoy it.
All right, great stuff again from Coach Tom Osborne, the legendary Tom Osborne. Thanks again for coming in. We'll be back with more on Weekly Wrap Sessions with All-American quarterback Steve Taylor after this.
I'm Karen Carr. I've been a realtor for 31 years. When I made a company change 12 years ago, I chose Lincoln First Realty, now NP Dodge. It's the oldest independently owned realty company in the country. Since becoming NP Dodge, we've continued our tradition of community involvement. Our management and staff are always available to offer support in marketing, technology, social media, and educational opportunities.
Expand your career with NP Dodge. Call Eric at 402-434-2222.
This is State Senator Carolyn Bosden. Public safety is important in our community. I have a proven record of protecting public safety. I have prosecuted perpetrators of domestic violence, advocated for the rights of child abuse victims, held sexual predators accountable, and fought to keep drug traffickers off our streets. This is Senator Carolyn Bosden, and I will continue to fight to keep our community safe. Vote Carolyn Bosden on November 5th. Paid for by Bosden for Legislature.
The McKinney's Irish Pub in the Haymarket is your place for English Premier League soccer. On Saturday, Man City stayed hot, beating Southampton 1-0, followed by Brighton tying Wolves 2-apiece. On Sunday, West Ham beat Man United 2-1, and then Liverpool drew their match against Arsenal 2-apiece. You can catch all these matches and more at the McKinney's Irish Pub, your headquarters in Lincoln for English Premier League soccer at 8th and P. Come enjoy a show of the Midwest's best boxers on Saturday, November 9th with Vertex at the Complex, the former location of Champions Fun Center. Fights are scheduled throughout the night, and if you haven't been before, now's the perfect time to go with Nebraska football on a bye week. Doors open at 6 p.m. with first bout at 7 p.m. Learn more about the boxers and buy tickets at thecomplexlincoln.com.
If you're a homeowner or a business owner, you have a lot of projects, and no one has an unlimited budget or time. Sunbelt Rentals makes all jobs less stressful with no need to purchase large equipment or hire a crew. You can do it yourself with rentals and everything from aerators and power rakes for spring yard work to stump grinders, concrete mixers, tile saws, and more. Check out their inventory in Lincoln, north of Cornhusker Highway on 56th Street, or online at sunbeltrentals.com.
If you're in Seward or Milford, listen up. Select Plumbing is now servicing your area with no trip charges from Lincoln. Select Plumbing works on a variety of issues for your home and business, including general plumbing, water heaters, faucet and fixture repair, underground sewer and water repairs, backflow testing, and more. Keep your property free from leaks and other issues. Call today for a free estimate, 402-560-6197. It's not just Lincoln, Waverly, and the surrounding area anymore. It's also Seward and Milford with no trip charges. Contact Select Plumbing to inquire at 402-560-6197.
My husband has always been the one we depend on. He's a great dad, loves the outdoors. But lately, he hasn't been himself. He tried to hide it, but I can tell he's struggling with his mental health. I called the 988 Suicide and Crisis Lifeline.
988 calls and texts are free and confidential with skilled caring support 24/7. No judgment, just help.
988 saved my husband's life.
Paid for by the University of Nebraska Public Policy Center. Aired with the Nebraska Broadcasters Association and this station.
Across Nebraska, voters will have the chance to end the current government abortion ban. The government shouldn't be making decisions for families' health care, but right now they are. Ending the ban takes 2 votes. A vote against 434, the first initiative, and then a vote for 439, the last initiative. It's only this combination that will finally get the government out of the personal medical decisions of Nebraska families. Voting against 434 and for 439 ensures that when there's a medical emergency, it's Nebraska families who decide what to do, not the government. This vote against 434 and for 439 makes it so our Nebraska doctors can treat every patient. The government put this ban in place, stripping Nebraska families of their freedom, but you can end it with 2 votes. The first against 434, and then vote for 439. Paid for by Protect Our Rights.
Herrick Services takes this time to wish everyone a happy and safe Halloween. With all the parents and kids out and about, they encourage drivers to be careful and respectful of trick-or-treaters. This important message comes to you from Bart and the folks at Herrick Services, your vending specialists here in Lincoln. Their quality service and expertise has earned them a fine reputation. That's Herrick Services, on the air because they care.
Hello, Charlie Stone here, and joining me is Andy Goodyear of Honda of Lincoln. Andy, I was noticing on your website, you have more than 150 new 2024 and 2025 Hondas in stock right now.
Yes, we do, Charlie. It's neat when you drive by and see all the cars on our lot, and we have most all models and all different colors available, and we even have more than hundreds on the way. We also have the all-new, all-electric 2024 Honda Prologue in stock right now. We have a few of them to choose from. Plus, qualified buyers get financing from just 1.9% APR.
How about your pre-owned selection?
I talk to a lot of my customers and friends, and they still think that we just sell brand new Honda, but we sell all different models, make of pre-owned cars, and we have more than 100 to choose from right now.
Well, maybe it's time you come experience the Honda of Lincoln way of doing business. 27th and Yankee Hill Road, or online at hondaoflincoln.com.
Wall-to-Wall Wine and Spirits is your place in North Lincoln to go for all your needs in wine, spirits, and beer. They also have a large variety of cigars in their walk-in humidor, and they have a top-notch walk-in, temperature-controlled, high-end wine bar. Plus, you can enjoy free samples from their tasting bar. There's only one place to go for all your needs for wine, beer, spirits, and cigars. Wall-to-Wall Wine and Spirits on North 27th Street in Lincoln. This October, the Bonsall Spooktacular 10 event is back with spooktacular savings all month long. Stop by anytime in October to discover incredible deals, including hot tubs as low as $5,995. That's up to 20% off MSRP. Plus, enjoy 10% off infrared and traditional saunas. Don't miss out on these hauntingly good offers. Visit Bonsall Pool and Spa today. Bonsall Pool and Spa, every day made better at 33rd and Pioneers.
Now back to weekly rap sessions with All-American quarterback Steve Taylor on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
We are back here on weekly rap sessions with All-American quarterback Steve Taylor. Just had Tom Osborne on. What
Coach
better
Osborne.
guest? Yeah, Coach Tom Osborne. What better guest here in Nebraska? I think that's pretty much the number one probably booked guest.
Dude, I felt like some big-time reporter. I couldn't even sleep for a little bit last night. Don't ask me why. I talk to him all the time. I'm like, what do you ask this? What do you ask, Coach? Like, you know,
well, I thought you did a good
do I try
job.
to be funny? Do I try to be, football crazy, X's and O's or what? It's kind of interesting. I haven't felt like that. I don't want to do that again.
You didn't like that?
I know. I liked it.
Yeah.
I liked it.
It's just the night of sleep wasn't easy.
Yeah, my wife comes up with these ideas, dude, and it's like, then I got to go through. I got to challenge myself.
Well, it was good. I
It's
think you
just
did a
different.
good job. You're kind of on the reporter side, and
Yeah.
I like how you kind of threw him off, gave him some some things he didn't know.
Yeah.
I could see when you told him you were injured and when you played one of those games, just kind of going through his head.
And then you
what
mentioned
different play calls would have I
And
made?
then I talked about we got to go fishing before.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But we do have, in celebration of Coach Osborne coming on, we do have The Legacy of Leadership, leading with the end in mind. This book right here, if you on our Starter Heyman Jewelers video stream, was published in 2023. Chad Boneham, worked with Tom Osborne on this one. Larry the Cable Guy had the forward on it, so even that in there, and it is signed. And we're going to give it away because we feel like we're in a good mood. Signed Tom Osborne book goes to caller number 3, 402-464-5685. Caller number 3 will get this signed Tom Osborne book. So just kind of incredible stuff. And again, I like just fun. If you didn't listen, you can go to theticketfm.com. Afterwards, we'll get it podcasted up there. Just little tidbits here and there.
Yeah, he has some giggles.
Even to bring in Johnny Rogers, potentially being a Travis Hunter before Travis
I know.
Hunter. Yeah.
I didn't know that.
No, I didn't either.
Yeah, it was interesting.
So that was really good stuff. But what we usually do too on this show is kind of get your thoughts on the previous game. Nebraska bounced back in a major way.
Oh.
Very scary after losing 56-7 to Indiana. That program feels a little rocky. Doesn't feel like it's on good footing once agaagain after competing with Ohio
I think
State.
we save face.
Yeah.
I didn't see that coming. So yeah. We're going to see. This is going to be a big week this week. I think that gives the Huskers some momentum. I think I feel better about getting a win. I felt better before, but I feel a lot better now. Just with our mindset and I think the confidence level of this football team. So, and this will be a big one.
Yeah.
This will be what, number 6?
Yeah, we're going for 6.
Number 6?
Third
Yeah.
time.
Yeah.
Third week in a row. But this one feels like the most gettable, obviously, with UCLA at home. What do you think kind of went right for Nebraska against Ohio State? What happened from a blowout against Indiana to competing with one of the top teams in the country?
Bach, I wish I could tell you.
Yeah.
I mean, defensively, they were solid.
They were.
And they posed just they're more of a threat, I thought, than Indiana. I would not want to say. I mean, after watching that game, you say, well, Ohio State's not a number 4 ranked team in the country. But I hate to say that because they were.
Yeah.
Right? And no one questioned that.
They're continually, as a program, one of the top 5,
exactly.
6 programs in the country.
That's why you play the game.
Yeah.
I mean, I didn't see that coming. I thought they would slowly score points and have it well in hand and get their reserves in and play. And on the flip side, I thought, if anything, they may have a little bit of a letdown, but not that much of a letdown if there was a letdown. I think Nebraska just imposed their will on them. And so not sure if they just didn't have a solid game plan, if they were off or whatnot, or Nebraska just played well. We look like defensively, we look much, much better.
Yeah.
Stopping the run, pressure on the quarterback. So that gives me more confidence. But you want to see that carry over into the next 2 or 3 or 4 games.
Yeah.
And that's why this week, again, every week is crucial. I don't think this UCLA team is near as good or talented as the Ohio State team. So I think we should be okay, but not quite sure.
Yeah. Still looking for consistency for week to week, but definitely in a step of
I
improvement.
think Rayola had a wake-up call, too. I mean, he was getting dirty.
Yeah.
That was
ran
good.
a little bit.
Yeah, he ran a little bit. So
Yeah.
that's encouraging. We'll see if that continues. So it's going to be a great game to watch.
Yeah. He is Steve Taylor. We got to take a quick break. I am Jake Balkov, and this is Weekly Wrap Sessions with All-American quarterback Steve Taylor. One more segment. We'll look a little bit more into that UCLA game coming next year on 93.7 The Ticket.
The McKinney's Irish Pub in the Haymarket is your place for English Premier League soccer. On Saturday, Man City stayed hot, beating Southampton 1-0, followed by Brighton tying Wolves 2-2. On Sunday, West Ham beat Man United 2-1, and then Liverpool drew their match against Arsenal 2-2. You can catch all these matches and more at the McKinney's Irish Pub, your headquarters in Lincoln for English Premier League soccer at 8th and P.
Is your heating system ready for cooler weather? Call Bryant to schedule your fall heating check. No matter what brand, call 467-1111. Bryant Air Conditioning, Heating, Electrical, and Plumbing.
Across Nebraska, voters will have the chance to end the current government abortion ban. The government shouldn't be making decisions for families' health care, but right now they are. Ending the ban takes 2 votes. A vote against 434, the first initiative, and then a vote for 439, the last initiative. It's only this combination that will finally get the government out of the personal medical decisions of Nebraska families. Voting against 434 and for 439 ensures that when there's a medical emergency, it's Nebraska families who decide what to do, not the government. This vote against 434 and for 439 makes it so our Nebraska doctors can treat every patient. The government put this ban in place, stripping Nebraska families of their freedom, but you can end it with 2 votes. The first against 434, and then vote for 439. Paid for by Protect Our Rights.
This show's pretty rockin', huh?
Yeah, I'm so glad my State Farm agent helped me go.
Huh?
My State Farm agent. They help me with options to personalize my auto insurance to get a great rate that fits my budget, so I don't have to give up the things I love.
Wow. Hey, so do you think I could get your State Farm agent's number?
Call your local State Farm agent, Vinny Kreekak, at 402-474-1173.
Individual premiums and budgets will vary by customer. All applicants subject to State Farm underwriting requirements.
A team succeeds when they work together. Banking's no different. At UBT, we're in your corner for every financial move you want to make. Your money's backed by a roster of experts who put in the work to know you and your community. So whether you're opening a savings account, buying a home, or planning your future, you always know who to turn to. Working together toward your financial goals. That's a win in our playbook. Union Bank and Trust. Equal housing lender, member FDIC.
Tailored Life is your headquarters for all things fall in Bennett. Make the short drive down Highway 2 for tons of items for your home, both indoors and outdoors. Check out their variety of potted trees, mums, and more. Plus, porch pots and landscape lighting to enhance the outside of your home. Don't forget their home goods for indoors, plus convenient drinks and snacks, most of which are produced locally. Visit Tailored Life today in Bennett and stay tuned to their Facebook page at Tailored Life 360 for food truck events coming up.
Rico here with HIS Auto Care at 70th and Van Dorn, letting you know HIS is a great place to bring your vehicle for service. With superior service bumper to bumper, we'll treat your vehicle like it's your mother's. Doesn't get any better than that. So call 402-488-8934 and HIS Auto will make you glad you did. 5% off, mention this ad, and for sure your mother will be proud you called. 402-488-8934, HIS Auto Care, 70th and Van Dorn. God bless you.
This is former Husker and NFL linebacker Jay Foreman. For years, I've suffered from degenerative problems in both of my ankles, but thanks to a thorough and thought-out plan provided by Advanced Medical Imaging, I was able to get my life back with the least amount of pain as possible. While working through multiple options, the team of physicians at Advanced Medical Imaging were there to answer any questions I had. If you're experiencing any pain at all and want to get your life back, go to amimaging.com or give them a call at 402-484-6677. Advanced Medical Imaging, located at 7601 Pioneers Boulevard.
When you need a new water heater, nothing beats the ProLine family of water heaters from A.O. Smith. ProLine models are built using commercial-grade components, meaning they're built to help you tackle your toughest days. No matter if you need a gas or electric model, A.O. Smith has a ProLine unit for you. A.O. Smith, innovation has a name. Call Greens at 402-467-4444 for a great deal on a water heater today. Again, that's 402-467-4444.
As a proud member of the Roofing and Solar Reform Alliance, Coalition Restoration stands out by providing thorough property assessments, personalized customer service, and top-notch craftsmanship. With years of experience in the industry, Coalition Restoration has built a notable reputation for having a team filled with skilled professionals and possessing the expertise to handle any roofing project, big or small. Visit their website today for a free roof assessment at www.coalitionrestoration.com or give them a call at 402-607-8186. Herrick Services takes this time to wish everyone a happy and safe Halloween. With all the parents and kids out and about, they encourage drivers to be careful and respectful of trick-or-treaters. This important message comes to you from Bart and the folks at Herrick Services, your vending specialists here in Lincoln. Their quality service and expertise has earned them a fine reputation. That's Herrick Services, on the air because they care.
My husband has always been the one we depend on. He's a great dad, loves the outdoors. But lately, he hasn't been himself. He tried to hide it, but I can tell he's struggling with his mental health. I called the 988 Suicide and Crisis Lifeline.
988 calls and texts are free and confidential with skilled caring support 24/7. No judgment, just help.
988 saved my husband's life.
Paid for by the University of Nebraska Public Policy Center. Aired with the Nebraska Broadcasters Association and this station.
This is Lincoln's home for sports talk on the FM dial. Also online at theticketfm.com.
On the internet.
KNTK FM Firth, 93.7 The Ticket. Now back to weekly rap sessions with All-American quarterback Steve Taylor on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
We are indeed back here on Weekly Rap Sessions with All-American quarterback Steve Taylor. If you missed it earlier, the legend, the great Coach Tom Osborne came in studio. Yeah. There's not enough words to describe Coach Tom Osborne, but came in studio, had a nice about 30-minute sit down with Steve. So catch that on our all our platforms, but theticketfm.com specifically is where we'll get that podcasted. Steve, of course, we got the game against UCLA, but maybe more importantly, it's Halloween tomorrow. What are you going at?
Oh man, my dog's gonna be going crazy. The doorbell's gonna be nonstop. So I'm gonna give out as much candy as I can within the first 30 minutes so we can be done.
Yeah, get rid of the candy. Because if you ever put the candy out in a bowl, the first trick-or-treaters will just come and take it all. Yeah.
No, we
There's no
enjoy it.
sharing.
I mean, I forgot how much fun Halloween is in trick-or-treating. So, I mean, now that all my kids are gone, but it's a good time. I got my whole house all decorated with stuff. So.
Did you? Yeah.
Oh yeah. What about you?
Yeah,
you get into it?
Oh yeah, I love Halloween. My son, he's 3 years old. He's really looking forward to it. So we're gonna go out and do a little bit of trick or treating, weather permitting. Hopefully, it's not too rainy like it is.
I have a couple of great masks that I can't find. I put them somewhere, and I got a couple. I got what's the Friday the 13th guy? I got one. I got one of those. I got to find.
You can find some, pull them out. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, good stuff. Like we said, Nebraska, UCLA also coming up around the corner. Like you said, should be an easier matchup than Ohio State. Does that not necessarily declare a win? And I think that's what a lot of people are thinking is their 2-5 record. They've played one of the 10 toughest schedules in the country. So
I think we get it done. I think we get it done.
Yeah.
I hope we get it done.
Yeah. Well, the question is too, and you're seeing Dylan Raiola stick up for his offensive coordinator here the other day at the press conference. Is what can the offense do to get it going? They're just not engineering a whole lot of points. And while they, did put up a good fight against Ohio State, if they could have cleaned up a detail here and there, maybe could have came away with a win.
I think by him getting a little dirty, when I say dirty, taking off and run, I think that will spark some energy.
Yeah.
Get some guys going.
Yeah. It should open some things up a little bit.
And your
too,
offensive line will feel better about that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, but UCLA, of course, like you said, not necessarily as bad as the record. We'll see what they bring to the table for Nebraska. As you're looking at the final few games, though, for Nebraska,
you got to get this one.
You
can't let this one slip.
Yeah, similar situation to last year.
Yeah,
where Michigan State looked like the easy win. Then you have 3 tough games, but Michigan State was going to clinch your bowl game. They didn't clinch it there, and then they lost 3 close games. So they got to take care of business.
Got to get it done this week. Just get dirty and get it done.
Here's my question then. Can they get to 30 points on offense? Would they need a pick six, some little help from defense?
That's been a tall order for us.
Been tough. Yeah.
Well, we get to 30, we win.
Yeah, we do. Well, and that's too is it's a little bit of what's the ceiling for the offense, and then not saying which defense you will get because it's inconsistent. It's just that the last 2 weeks, you've got extreme ends of it, right? It's been a good defense all year. They just kind of had that hiccup.
You're 100% right, man. I don't. God, I just don't know. Of course, why would I know?
Yeah,
I think we get it done. though. I think defense plays tough. I think offense takes care of the football.
Yeah,
we run the football. We make some things happen. Raiola gets dirty. We win the game by a touchdown or 2.
Yeah, to come away with the win no matter how you can.
Yeah.
Of course, 2 home games left. Is it too cold for you still to go to home games? Or are you going to be out there?
No, I love the fall, dude.
Yeah,
it's been like still summer.
Yeah,
I like
fall.
Yeah.
Nice, yeah.
I got 2 more games in me.
Yeah. Oh, good.
But now we got that new player suite in there, so I can just go in there and hang out.
Oh, is that the place to be, even if it is cold?
Yeah. That's right. We got TVs, we got pool tables, we got food.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Well, that's good.
They're
stepping up their game a little
they
bit
are
for the
stepping
former
up.
players.
Yeah. Credit that to Mr. Jay Foreman.
That is awesome.
Yeah, he's taking care of us.
That's been a complaint I've heard from a few former players over the years, so I'm glad to hear that is a step in the right direction.
Yes, indeed.
All right, let's go ahead and wrap things up here. Weekly Wrap Sessions with All-American quarterback Steve Taylor. Thanks once again to Steve for coming in, and thanks once again to Tom Osborne for sitting down in studio with us as well. The Locker Room coming next here on 93.7 The Ticket. Mulberry Barbecue by Single Barrel is the answer to all your lunch and dinner cravings. They have everything from smoked turkey sandwiches to brisket burritos to burnt-in sandwiches and pulled pork. Try a dinner plate option of barbecue